Follows what's been by far the deadliest day of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in 50 years. It's more than 24 hours now since Hamas launched its military operation on Israel by land, air and sea. And these are live pictures now as the sun rises on the besieged territory. Palestinians taking stock then of what's been lost overnight in Israeli airstrikes. Well, this was the scene just a few hours ago when Israel launched another airstrike on Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned people in Gaza who are under Israel's land, air and sea blockade to leave the territory. Israeli media say some of the strikes targeted the homes of senior Hamas members, including Yahya al-Sinwar, Hamas's leader in Gaza. But so far, at least 256 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli airstrikes. Al Jazeera's Yumna El Sayed is live now from Gaza. Yumna, we know, as we were saying there have been a number of Israeli airstrikes on Gaza overnight. Tell us what's been happening and the latest casualty figures that you've been hearing there.
Yes, well, the violent Israeli raids have not stopped bombarding across the Gaza Strip in different areas. Dozens of residential homes and buildings have been completely destroyed. Some of these homes were actually targeted while the residents were in them without any prior notice, causing great amounts of casualties in this home, including the entire families of those residents of that home. Also, as you mentioned, the targeting of senior Hamas leaders' homes across the Gaza Strip in different areas, including Sinwar, the chief of the political bureau of Hamas, and his office in Gaza City, as well as 3 mosques have been completely destroyed and 2 banks. This is all in addition to 3 residential or 3 towers. Al-Aqlouk Tower was the latest tower. It's a residential tower, Palestine Tower yesterday that was targeted right there live while we were live, and also Watan Tower that was also destroyed and leveled to the ground in the early hours of this day. Al-Aqlouk Tower, just to say, is the tower opposite to the residential home of our producer, Safwat Al-Kahlout. He had to run as soon as we knew that the tower was being targeted. It's in a very densely populated area in a Nasr neighborhood in Gaza City. And when the first warning missile, which they call a knock on the roof, was hit, he quickly rushed to his home. They're luckily they're all safe, but the glasses, the windows of his home has all been shattered. So this is basically how the scene is in the Gaza Strip in these past few hours. As the raids and bombardments still continue in different areas, the latest number by the Ministry of Health is, as you mentioned, 256 people killed and over 1,700 injured, including 20 children killed and 121 children injured. So also we have been witnessing a lot of power cuts since last night. Like, for example, here in our bureau, we're on the 13th floor, and because of the power supply, we have to use the stairs to get up to the bureau or get down from the bureau because there is no power supply for the elevators. So since last night and the energy minister's decision to stop feeding the Gaza Strip with power that the Palestinian Authority pays for, we're witnessing about 4 hours of electricity in the entire day.
Yumna, let me just jump in here with an update we're just getting here on the AP, the Associated Press wires. The Israeli military is now saying at least 26 Israeli soldiers have been killed in this unprecedented Hamas attack on the country's south. Let me just repeat that. This wire is just dropping now from the Associated Press. The Israeli military saying at least 26 soldiers killed in unprecedented Hamas attack on the country's south. Let me ask you, Yumna, I mean, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been warning Gazans to get out now, but people really have nowhere to go and many remain trapped in the enclave, don't they?
Of course, and the irony about this is that Israel knows that it has been imposing a land, air, and sea blockade on the Gaza Strip. There is no movement. There are no crossings open for the free of movement of the residents. But the Israeli army yesterday sent messages to the residents living on the borders of the Gaza Strip from north to south to tell them to evacuate their homes and go to the city or to the center of the city in Gaza City. Now we're talking about 3.2 million people living in 365 kilometers. A Palestine tower that was leveled yesterday is a residential tower with 100 apartments. Some of these apartments were offices, media offices and medical offices, but the rest of the apartments were for residents, for families that are now displaced. Al-Akluk Tower, on the other hand, in a Nasser neighborhood, which was just leveled a short while ago, is also fully a residential tower, which means that hundreds of other families have also been instantly displaced. Dozens of residential homes that have been destroyed in the past few hours means another hundreds of families being displaced. So where do these families go? They join their other family members, relatives, neighbors in the areas, because this is the reality for the residents living in Gaza.
All right, Yumna Al-Sayed giving us a live update there from Gaza as Gaza wakes up this morning to the aftermath of numerous Israeli airstrikes on the enclave. Yumna, thank you very much indeed. Meanwhile, inside Israel, gun battles have been continuing for hours between Hamas fighters and Israeli forces. The death toll there stands at more than 300. In the southern city of Sderot, Palestinian fighters seized a police station. Israeli forces demolished part of the building with a bulldozer. Israel said it was engaged in gun battles in at least 8 locations near Gaza. Let's talk to Sarah Kairat. She joins us live now from West Jerusalem. Sarah, so the Israeli army was saying earlier fighting is still taking place in the south. Bring us up to date with what you know about what's happening there and also in places like Sderot.
Yeah, that's right. Yesterday, the Israeli army had confirmed that the fighters that came and crossed over that border were between 200 to 300 of them. Of course, some of them ended up going back, but those that remained are deep in those southern towns, and they've clearly managed to, a lot of them, to manage to evade the Israeli forces that have been going there. We've seen videos of them, of Israelis filming the Israeli security forces walking the streets, trying to find those Palestinian fighters that are still very much deeply in those southern towns. Now, the Israeli army says that they are managing to take back some of the control from some of those areas, eliminating in there some of those Palestinian fighters. But there still seems to be a hostage, a captive situation rather, that's been happening. There were 2 of those happening then on Saturday, and it seems to still be the case. They haven't given too much information on whether that is still ongoing, but the fighting is definitely still happening. Unofficially, from what we're seeing from people posting on social media, Israeli family members looking for those that are missing, it seems that missing number is going up as well. It's still not been acknowledged by the Israeli authorities, but we're seeing numbers as many as 750 of those missing. There was apparently a huge party that was being being held by Israelis at that close to that border, and some of those youngsters that were attending had been kidnapped and taken over the border as civilians. So this is still very much an ongoing operation. And just one more thing to add to that, a cabinet meeting that was held yesterday night for several hours. What came out of it was a very clear message. They decided that they will destroy, they said, the military arm for Hamas. They will ensure that it will be a difficult war, a long war, but they will do everything they can to eliminate that.
All right, Sarah Kairat live for us there in West Jerusalem. Sarah, we're going to have to leave